Question just to Deputy Doherty raised an issue. If the Cancorla or myself rule out questions, it's because they don't comply with standing orders, and that has to be taken up with another committee of the House. So Deputy Shane Ross has the next question.
Thank you, Cancorla. I just want to raise the issue of the surge in corporate tax rates, tax returns at the end of October. The Minister will be aware that the income tax and VAT returns were a little below expectations, but the corporate tax returns were way above. And I wonder if we could have an explanation for the overperformance of corporate tax from the Minister. And maybe he could tell us whether this comes from the multinational sector and whether this is a result of one-off returns, or whether it's a result of trading activity.
Thank you very much, Deputy. In relation to the specific performance in the month of October, corporation tax receipts finished the month 806 million ahead of target. A negative amount of 3 million had been profiled in respect of corporation tax receipts in October 2015 because the Revenue Commissioners forecast repayment of approximately 2 million that would have offset the forecasted level of collection. However, these repayments, which had been identified to the Revenue Commissioners when the monthly profiles were being prepared, did not materialise as expected. This accounts for over 200 million of the very strong overperformance recorded in October. In addition, there were also unexpected payments amounting to 350 million from a number of large companies due to better trading conditions, and a number of payments totalling 200 million that were expected in November and December were received in October. Turning to the year-to-date performance, corporation tax receipts have been unexpectedly strong in 2015. And in October, cumulative receipts were 2 billion, or just under 75% higher than expected, and up 1.8 billion, or over 60% year on year. I am advised by the Revenue Commissioners that the overperformance is a result of a combination of reasons. For example, around half of the 2 billion surplus against profile is attributable to a small number of large multinational companies. The companies involved have advised the Revenue Commissioners that the strong performance in 2015 is primarily associated with improved trading conditions. There are also some positive currency effects, but these are not substantial in overall terms. In addition, there has also been some timing factors. For example, as I've already stated, a number of payments profiled for November and December were received early, and a number of large repayments that were scheduled for October are still outstanding. In addition, there were also a number of one-off payments amounting to 170 million. As the Deputy may be aware, approximately 80% of corporation tax receipts are received from the multinational sector, with the top 10 tax-paying groups accounting for over a third of total corporation tax receipts.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Minister.
I'd like to thank the Minister for his reply. I'm a bit puzzled by some of the balance. I think we've got 550 million explained, and a large amount of it in what he described as better trading conditions. Would that include a single payment from a multinational that has adjusted its profits somewhat dramatically in recent times? And what I'm getting at here, Minister, is the fact that if multinationals are adjusting their profits and paying a large amount more to the Exchequer than expected, then we are becoming very dependent upon the whim of multinationals in the creation of their profits, which we know already are movable feasts. And what I'm asking the Minister is there a multinational in here which has changed its mind, adjusted its profits, and therefore contributed a large amount more to the Exchequer this year than was expected?
Thank you. Minister.
Well, first of all, I cannot get information about particular taxpayers or about particular corporations, but I have no evidence or I have no briefing to suggest that this comes largely from one source. This is very broad-based. And for example, the part of my written answer I didn't get to, which I'll give you now, while corporation tax are concentrated in the multinational sector, it should be noted that the improvement is relatively broad-based. In this regard, I am advised by the Revenue Commissioners that there has been an increase of over 20% in the number of companies paying between 100,000 and 5 million up to the end of October this year, versus the same period last year. This is reflected in the receipts, which were also up by over 20% in this category. So it's broadly based, it's for trading purposes. The multinationals, there's about 50 of them that are in contact over the telephone on a regular basis with the revenue commissioners. So the group is small, and they can see what's going on. And they say that they're all trading stronger. That may be due to, you know, the decline in the value of the euro. But they're trading very strongly this year, and they're making extra profits.
Thank you.
And they're paying tax on their extra profits. Now, there may be some element of intellectual property being brought ashore. Again, I can't identify that. But that was one of the purposes of the amendments I moved when we, discontinued the practice of residency, which facilitated the double Irish.
Thank you. Deputy Shane Ross.
I'd like to thank the Minister. I think he's opened the door a bit further, which I'm grateful for. I think that what is happening here, I think the evidence is clear, is that the multinationals are the main contributors to this extraordinary spike in corporate tax. And that the Minister should, and I'd be interested in your view of this, be worried about the effect that the contribution of multinationals is making such a significant and material difference to the returns from the Exchequer. And the conclusion you might draw from this, and I wonder is the Minister worried, is that the multinationals, because of their extraordinary ways of creating their profits, and the Minister's referred to it when he talks about intellectual property offshore, because of the way that they can create and manoeuvre and manipulate their profits, they can therefore make an enormous difference to the, in an artificial way, to the returns coming to the Exchequer, and they can have a disproportionate effect on the returns of the Exchequer.
Thank you.
And the deficit. And would the Minister regard this as a significant development and one which he should tackle in a particularly material way?
Come on, Minister, to conclude.
I mean, I have read commentary from fairly able people which argue the case as Deputy Ross has argued it. But I can assure you, when I raise it with the Revenue Commissioners, they say that those theories are not correct. They tell me that the booming economy and the declining exchange rate has brought about a situation where all companies, both multinational and indigenous, are trading very profitably now. And as a result of their profitable trading, they have more profits and they pay more taxes. And as well as that, I mean, the most serious question from my point of view is this windfall, or can it go into the base for subsequent years? And the revenue assure me that this is not windfall and that it can be put into the base for subsequent years because this is a new situation. Even though that is the advice, when we were constructing the 2016 budget, we put in a very low percentage increase for corporation tax next year over this year's base.
Thank you.
I think it's something like 6 or 7%, not much more than the growth rate, because we need to be prudent about this. But don't be surprised if next year corporation tax again exceeds the estimate for the 2016 budget.
Thank you.
Because we're putting in very prudent figures. But I rely on revenue to tell me about taxes. I rely on revenue to predict tax flows. And they're predicting that these tax flows are not windfall and that they will continue into next year and subsequent years
Deputy
in similar
Michael
trading
McGrath.
conditions.